Hey everybody, good evening and welcome to another show here on the Comic Art Live channel. We've got lots of interesting things to talk about. We've got Xatari, i.e. Mike and Dinesh back, and first timer Andre G will be joining us as well. So we'll get a little bit of an origin story. We'll get to look at some great artwork, and I think have a lot of fun while we're doing it. So let me bring all three of these gentlemen into the show. We've got Andrew and Dinesh and Mike, and I'm going to swing myself down here and get you guys in the right spot. So welcome to the show, gentlemen.
I always knew you were bottom bill. I've known Mike for a long time.
3 seconds in.
And like, what am I
Who
doing?
invited this guy?
Yes, exactly. It's okay. It's good to see you again, Dinesh. It's been a couple months since OAX. Yeah.
OAX was a blast. Oh my God, my favorite show of the year now. I'm so excited.
Well, we're only 3 months into the year, so that's not saying a whole lot yet. But let's say it's your favorite show of the last 12 months. If you say that.
I mean of the calendar. You know, I've always got I love NC Comic Con, New York's fun, San Diego's fun, SC Comic Con's fun. But I had more fun at OAX this year than I've had at any show ever in my entire life. You guys killed it. I cannot. I really was skeptical. It's so hard to put a show on, especially your first year. You guys killed it. I'm so excited for the next one.
Thank you. Yeah,
Except
it was.
option.
We were very surprised as well. I mean, I don't know. You go into things with expectations, but you just can't predict how. It's all about getting all those people together and then having them interact and make the show be special, right? Because you don't know what the exhibitors are going to bring. You don't know what the artists are going to do while they're there, and everybody just overachieved, right? I mean, it was amazing.
You are a bottom and you're humble.
Well, the cool thing is we're already starting planning OAX 2025, so that's fun, right? We're going to start ticket sales next month even. So look forward to getting things rolling again. But we're not here to talk about OAX. But it is good to see you again. And so Mike and I were chatting prior to getting things started here, and Andrew's new. And I apologize. I had a typo when I made the slide originally, and it was Andre. So anybody who thought we were going to be talking to somebody named Andre tonight, we're correcting things now. And
Andre would have been a better guest anyway.
I don't think so.
I think it might stick. Andre's a good name. You look like an Andre. Good
you
work.
kind of have it, but well. You can change your name to whatever you want, Andrew. So hey, before we even get started with stuff, I mean, one of the things that I know Dinesh and Mike had going on recently was a trip to Basel to see the Marvel exhibit, and I'm jealous. I was trying to work out a free trip to Basel myself as Mike Berkey's +1, but Mike is just he's kind of lame and he won't do it. So I'm stuck not getting to go to Basel, unfortunately. I was trying to swing in and make it a trip where I could actually go to Como at the same time, right? I mean, I was talking with Albert today. That's what he's doing. He didn't go to the opening. He's going in May, so and getting his trip paid to Como too. So it's like
same with David Mack.
That's smart. That's smart.
So unfortunately, though, Mike. So yeah, I think what have I got to do? I got to get some of my own art in the exhibit, so I don't have to deal with Berkey anymore. Trying to be +1.
Oh my God, Rip Andre in the chat. I love that. That's great.
So tell me a bit about Basel. I think the Marvel exhibit by and large changes a little bit everywhere it goes. I mean, they
level it up every time. It's really Mike, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that seeing this after seeing Wellington, in New Zealand, this was a little bit bigger. I didn't see this when this version of it was touring in the US, but I mean, there were great photo ops, a ton of engagement from the community. I mean, when I got in there were 30 people in line just before we even, the doors opened at 10 and there was people just waiting there. So cool to see that. Awesome art. I mean, truly like breathtaking art, stuff that you'd expect to be there. And then other stuff that was like just really pleasantly surprised. Like for me, like the big like wow moments, like certainly like Dinesh, you have that New Mutants page that I've seen before, but seeing it again was like, oh my gosh. And then Jim Halpern had that Silver Surfer 1 cover there. Like, I didn't put it together that this is actually a thing. Like this exists. And I know that, Mikey talked about it in the past and stuff, but seeing it in person, like as you round that corner, was pretty wild. So
for anyone that doesn't know what this is Semel exhibitions. They do the Tutankhamun traveling exhibit, the Van Gogh traveling exhibit. They're one of the premier live event companies in the world. They work with two fantastic people from our community, Patrick Reed and Ben Saunders, who curate the exhibit, and they put on these multi-million-dollar extravaganza exhibits that last about 6 to 8 months in different countries and then tour around the world. There's a Southern Hemisphere one called Earth's Mightiest Exhibit, and there's a Northern Hemisphere one, which is starting now in Basel, called Marvel Universe of Superheroes, and it's tremendous. It's mostly comic art, original comic art, some original statues, some multimedia stuff, some costumes, but it's very, very art heavy, and it's just the absolute perfect showcase for the stuff that we know and love. And it's so wonderful to see it, given the treatment that Van Gogh gets given, that Picasso gets given, that it deserves, frankly.
Yeah. Well, and they partner with Marvel Studios too. So, I mean, you see so many of these authentic movie props that came straight off set, as of the last 6 to 12 months. We saw the Marvel stuff was all there, which was pretty wild to see, the art that pairs with those costumes. And it was rad. Just, if you get a chance, if you're in Europe or if you're looking for an excuse, it's a great place to stop off. And what blew me away was that travel, once you get to Europe, travel is so cheap. I mean, flights all over Europe were like $50 to $70 anywhere you wanted to go. It's awesome. So pretty cool.
Well, I'm jealous. We're going to show a little clip here, but what I saw in the clip was pretty cool. There was was there actually a Captain America on ice in the wall?
Yes.
That wasn't part of the. I've seen this exhibit 2 times, and that wasn't a part of the ones that I've seen.
They keep adding to it. It's amazing.
Yeah. What's cool, Bill, too, is as you get closer to Captain America, all of the sound is so immersive. Like the soundtracks are very. I mean, Christoph, who did all that stuff, is fantastic. But as you get closer to Captain America, you hear the ice trickle, like the water drops. And so it's almost like a Disney event, right? Where everything is just like it totally morphs as you're walking through. So that was pretty cool.
This one had an original score by Hans Zimmer. That's how elevated their production is. I mean, they literally, Hans Zimmer, multiple Academy Award nominee, I think winner, did an original score for this exhibition. So as you walk through, you hear the score.
That's cool.
That is very cool. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna miss it, but I think there was even a Rainbow Bridge or something. I remember seeing a photograph, or maybe that was when it was in New Zealand.
That was in New Zealand. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, I would have, being a Thor guy, I would have loved to have gotten in on that. Doggone it. So you made it to New Zealand then too, I take it, Dinesh.
I did. Mike and I are very, very blessed to be asked to lend our pieces along with people like Mike Berkey and Jim Halpern and many, Chuck Custis, many others. And we always go, Albert Moya, we always try to go out there they invite us to come to the openings of each of the exhibitions. So we go out there, and it's fun to see other collectors and see comic art be venerated the way it is.
Yeah.
Agreed. So nobody's heard you say anything yet, Andrew. So have you been to any of the Marvel exhibits across the country or out of the country?
I have not. And I also want to say this is really weird for me because at like 6 o'clock every day, I'm on my computer all the time. I'm multi-monitor. So 6 o'clock Pacific, I throw your show up and I have it going on in the background. And so my brain is conditioned where I'm just kind of like starting to zone out to focus on other things because I'm used to just having this playing in the background. I'm like, no, I'm on camera right now. So this is a little odd.
Amazing.
I like that the sun is creeping up on you.
I had to turn my camera around because where I was planning on sitting, it just at this time, it's blasting through the window. So I'm going to be slowly rotating as the sun.
We're going to see your whole room before it's all over, right?
Yeah, probably.
Well, before we get to do the, a little bit of introduction with you, Andrew, I did get a clip together of some of the photographs that I got from Mike and Dinesh. So I'll play that for everybody so you can get a feel for what the Basel Marvel exhibit was like. And then we'll just run from there and talk to Andrew. Oh my God! There's so many music credits out there. My God, I can't stand it.
Pay for the music. You use the Avengers theme or something.
I will find a different score, for crying out loud. You know how hard it is to find royalty-free music that YouTube doesn't ding you on? But I'll work.
Where did that come from? HR Videos R Us?
No, I actually subscribe to this service that gets you, clips and 3D elements, all this kind of stuff that I use for doing dealers and everything. But they don't have a wide selection of short clips for music. But I'm gonna dig around. Alberto, clearly, he's giving me $5. I'm gonna,
Did he really?
Take that tip. That's great.
That's amazing. Next time we'll send you, Mike and I will send you the score from the exhibition. They'd be happy for you to use it.
Yeah, actually, that's a good idea.
I'm all for it.
Thank you for doing that, though. That looked awesome.
So
should we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
The video is shot. The video is shot before opening hours, so you get a really nice sense of everything that's there. But what I found fascinating, I went back day 3, and I had to wait an hour in line to get in, and there's a ton of people, and it's just families. It's a lot of kids, and I was really surprised because they gravitate towards the art, and they really, really get excited about it. That was fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Yeah, well, that's I think the Marvel exhibit has definitely exposed people to original art. I mean, it may not turn them into collectors or anything, but at least it makes them aware of the process and the things that go into what makes a comic book. So at least they're getting exposed to the stuff that we collect. I mean, that's always going to be a positive thing for the hobby, I think.
It might make them collectors, man. I mean, I was really surprised. People they'd look at the statues, they'd look at the costumes, but they get to the art and they stop, they take photos with it. I tried to send some photos of people poking at the art and like looking at it, and it was really interesting the reactions people would have, old and young. I mean, I saw a dad explaining to his 5-year-old daughter, this is New Mutants 98, this is the first appearance of Deadpool, that's the first time he's appeared. And I was surprised at how much the little 5-year-old girl was into it, and she was excited by it.
It's interesting to see too, like which pieces like the attendees gravitated toward. There was pieces that I was like, wow, like this is like really going to blow me away. But then they, collectors would, or not collectors, but attendees would stop at certain pieces more so than others. Like I felt like that Avengers 1 page was like that was an anchor for a lot of people. They just stopped there, and they there was, before you get to the tour, there's a whole video talking about the history of Marvel Comics. And so they actually explained Avengers 1, and then to see like from the video to the actual page and people just stopping because, and you asked them, and it's like, well, this is the first time that all these superheroes come together. I mean, that's a really, really cool moment for people.
It really does get you jazzed, man, for sure. At a time like we're in now where the movies aren't really working, it reminds you why you love all this stuff.
Totally. I also love the artist reactions. So one of the things that I love to do is take pictures of the art and then send it to the artist afterward, because there's artists that are up and coming, right? I love, Bill, I think the last time we were on, we talked about some of the Marvel snap cards. Andrew collects some of the snap cards with us too. And one of the artists was a guy named Marco Faella. And I showed off, I think, a Miles piece. But in that video, you saw a Mantis piece and a Baby Groot piece. And those are from Marco as well. And now for Marco to shot him an email right after, hey, Marco, just wanted to give you a heads up. We were able to get this in the museum. Here it is. And he was just blown away. I mean, the email he sent back, can I post this on social? Like,
oh, cool.
So honored. Yeah. I mean, so for me to be able to kind of give to an artist that gave to me too is awesome.
I work in publishing, and I get so many emails from artists now that say, hey, could you see if this would be in the museum, that be in the museum? I know you own it. And I'm like, I don't get to pick. I love that though, and I love that how excited the community is. My favorite thing though is that Mike got called out for being a fake connection to the museum. There was, what was it? We shouldn't name who it is. Some artist was excited about being in the exhibit, and then his dealer Felix, his dealer, Felix went on his podcast and was like, there's no connection. And it was amazing being a Basel. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's all right here. I think this is like your 5th one of these, Mike.
Yeah.
Haters, man.
Well, I'm jealous, definitely. Where's it going after Basil? Do you know?
Well, we can't say officially. We've heard some rumors. Don't spill the beans.
I don't
I'll
know.
ask Ben. Yeah, we don't need to let everybody know.
Spidey's going to be out here in a second. You got to be careful.
I was gonna say I don't know. My understanding is that it's in Europe now, and so they'll probably want to travel Europe, but I don't have a clue. Mike might know more than I do.
There's some rumors, but I think they want to keep one.
Albert.
Yeah, Albert will know. But I think they want to keep one sort of moving east and one sort of moving west, right? So
sure.
You can kind of deduce some of the big key areas for those. Let's get to talking about Andrew.
I was just going to say it's
the man in
Andrew's
the green room.
time to shine here. So Andrew, you've been a member of CAF for only a couple of years. Have you been only collecting for a couple of years, or did you recently discover CAF 2 years ago? I mean, I think May is your 2-year anniversary on the site. So so give us your origin story.
So I would say on the art side, I've been picking pieces up here and there when I went to Comic-Con, etc. over the last several years, but it wasn't something I really focused on. And when I'd walk around, I would see people with booths with like plastic bins full of loose art, and so I didn't really pay much mind to it. But occasionally I'd look through, I'd see something cool, and I'd pick it up for the trip. So I have art from over the years, but it wasn't really something I was actively collecting, and it was definitely not something I was tracking the value of. And then, when COVID happens, we're all stuck at home looking at things, and my wife thinks I have a disease where I like to collect stuff. And when I realized my comic book collection was pretty much done, and I had this art, I'm like, maybe I'm gonna try to fill this thing out. And I came in at the worst possible time, but it is what it is. And I kind of discovered CAF at that point, joined up, and posted a couple of things and met some really cool people. And I've just been kind of pulled into your orbit on it. And like I see James in chat, who was like one of the first people just to reach out to me when I joined, like was super friendly and inviting. And I've noticed like a lot of people are like that. Like Mike was like that, and that's how I met Dinesh. And there's just this really close, cool community, which is probably one of the bigger reasons I've stuck around. I mean, I love the art, but there are just some awesome people here.
Sure. But so as a new collector, relatively new, you didn't start small. You kind of dove in and went for bigger pieces. You didn't start with a $100 head sketch or a I don't know, a $50 page from the 80s from Power Pack or something like that.
I mean, I have a couple of pages like that just from over the years of picking up stuff I wasn't really thinking about. But one of the things that kind of had to happen for me, which I'm still in the process of figuring out, is like, what is it that you want to collect, right? And a lot of people that I've spoken to that come in here, they've fallen into the same sort of traps. And there's a part of you that wants to go in and chase what everyone thinks is valuable. And I think that part of that's a mistake. And then there's another part where you want to collect the things that you're nostalgic about. Then if no one else thinks it's cool or whatever, then you kind of second guess that. But I kind of changed my tune on that. But one of the bigger components for me is I'm probably on the younger side for this community. I'm not saying I'm young, but most of the people I meet are a little bit older than I am. And a lot of my exposure to the comic world, yeah, I read comics growing up, but I was really growing up when all the animated shows were taking off. So a lot of my exposure to comic world came from that. And then as I got older, I would go back and revisit things and read like the big storylines about characters I cared about, etc. And so what has kind of started to inform my collecting is sort of also thinking about how stories and characters transcend the medium and how they're embraced in film or animation or video games. And that's been something that has been on my mind, as well as kind of following Dinesh's lead, where he came in and he's like, I think everything from the 90s is cool. No one else does, but I do. So I'm going to grab all of it. And so I missed the window on that one. But there are a lot of cool, big crossover events and stories that have come, you know, in the 2000s, 2010 stuff, 10s that I went back and I read and I thought were cool. And they're not considered that valuable, even though, you know, a lot of people read them and I like them. And so I've been picking up a lot of that stuff. And that's been fun as well. So like in a roundabout way, I'm still figuring out myself as a collector, which I feel like takes a couple of years. But I'm kind of narrowing in and trying not to fall into the mistakes of just grabbing whatever I can get and then like sorting through it and going, oh, this isn't a very strong piece. This isn't a very strong piece. For me, it's kind of been narrowing down on like what are the core stories that I care about, the core characters that I care about. And every once in a while, there's an artist that I'm like, okay, their art's so cool, I'm just going to collect it anyway. It's like Sean Gordon Murphy, Brad Moore, those kind of guys, where maybe the story isn't for me or isn't, you know, as impactful, but I just think they're really great artists, and I just can't get enough of their stuff. But
I can't believe, Andrew, how fast though. Like, I mean, I feel new in the hobby. You're newer than me, and like just to watch you take off in your collecting has been insane. I mean, your taste in art is so good. Like, I think I reached out to you pretty early on, thinking like, who is this guy? I got to know, like, who is this like seasoned collector? I want to get into this art portfolio.
I'm just
Yeah, I
feeling
think
around the dark.
his calf, and I was like, oh man, here's a guy that's been at it way longer than we have. He's got such awesome stuff. I remember
It's
that.
so true. It's so true. I love it. And then Andrew became part of our crew. Like we love this guy.
I appreciate that. I mean, I wish I posted more. Like, as you may have noticed, like I don't use social media. Like I getting around to like scanning stuff and posting it. Like I just, it's been rough. So when I knew that these guys were coming on here, I'm like, oh, this is a good excuse for me to scan some things and put it up on tap. So yeah, I need to be better about posting stuff. And I really like engaging with people and talking about things. I just, I guess I'm just lazy. I don't know what it is. And I also like, there's an element of like you posting something, but maybe it's not exactly what you wanted. And there's like a little piece of you that's like, I'd rather have something that's a little bit better as the thing from this artist or this run on tap, or maybe I'm not going to keep it and I don't know. And so you don't want to like post something. I say like there's like so many things going on. I'm overthinking it. I don't know what I'm talking about.
There's a psychology to posting to your calf. That is for sure. And I think there's also, you know, the timing is there too. I mean, I probably have like 25 pieces of art that I've gotten in the last 6 months that I haven't posted. While I've been posting, you know, throughout that time, it's just you kind of pick and choose the pieces you want to show off, and sometimes you just, I don't know, you know, I discovered stuff about 6 months ago that I'd had for 2 or 3 years that I'd forgotten to put in my calf. So, you know, I think calf, and there's a lot of collectors out there. I mean, I'm sure all three of you are there would say the same thing, that there's pieces you probably just wouldn't share. I mean, you know, they're not really, whether because they're not part of the permanent collection or they're pieces you'd want to just kind of keep to yourself. I mean, it's just how it is, Andrew. So, you know, I mean, there's certainly nothing wrong with, there's no right or wrong way to sharing.
I think there's no right or wrong way to eat a Reese's.
Very true. But
I want to see some art, Andrew. What did you bring tonight? What kind of heat are you bringing? You're leading us off tonight.
Am I?
Did you know that? Yeah, you're starting us off.
Well, you have the most sparse background of us as well. There's no art on your walls, Andrew.
So my office was the room next to this. I bought a bunch of stuff out of storage. I was looking for something. I have all these boxes everywhere, and I forgot I was going to be on camera today. It's like, oh, I can't do it in that room. So I moved over to this room, which is sort of like a little library for my wife. And there's a giant window. And I'm like, this is fine. And I didn't think through like the time of day. And so light is blasting in, and I have pushed up against like one wall with this iPad, trying so I'm not like just blowing out this camera. And when the sun gets right below the trees that we cut, I'm just going to rotate over because this is weird. I get like staring at this is a little odd.
Yeah, I think some people think you're in a prison cell or something, but it's not that way, everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, we could dive in and start looking at some artwork. We did. Everybody brought 6 pieces of art, so you know, it's not a lot, but plenty of stuff to talk about. I think. So let's see here, and Andrew does. You do start us off here. So let me see. Let me pull up the first artwork that we have here.
And I brought like portfolios of stuff that maybe I can grab stuff that's related, just in case if there's things.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Please do.
Okay. This is awesome. What is this? What
So good.
Absolutely
so good.
Number one.
Alberto claimed it already. That's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah, that's amazing. You take time for this.
It's already sold, everybody. Nobody can claim it now. But we, you know, obviously this is the, what was it, Absolute Carnage #1 cover, segment art. And I know that when you sent me the scans you had, you also had you know, the pencil version to show as well. So tell us a bit about why this piece appealed to you and why there's a pencil and an ink version of it.
So when I was getting back into like reading comics, everyone kept telling me about Donny Cates' run on Venom and how he took basically a character that people at the time stopped really caring about and turned it to the best-selling character from Marvel, right? And he was absolutely killing it with Stegman on that run, and the whole thing was building up, you know, to the big reveal of Null, and this, you know, Absolute Carnage event was the big event to kind of build up to that. And you know, after the fact, it seems like people thought the King in Black story was a little bit of a letdown, and Absolute Carnage kind of delivered from, it seems, at least to me, to more people. And it's kind of remarkable to me that this, you know, this Carnage storyline, I think, was the best-selling comic of that year, or close to it. And this image was, you know, used for so many different things, promotional materials. It was used for the kind of the collected paperback. And I thought it was a really interesting take on Carnage. I like how he's kind of big and kind of like slender and lanky. And the way he did it was for this like full red treatment that I think kind of calls back to, what was it, Maximum Carnage? So I think it was like kind of an homage to that. And I just thought it was a really neat cover. I thought it was, you know, probably like the peak of that run for me, at least. And I thought, you know, if I can have one, if I'm going to narrow down to one image from that run, this is it for me. And so, you know, I had to pick it up. And the other thing is, I believe the King in Black books were all bought in full. So that was just off the market. Mm-hmm. And, you know, because of that, there weren't a lot of images from Null, who was a big deal, obviously. I have other pages from this book. I have, like, for example, the opening kind of title with Null's origin.
Oh, that's awesome.
Holy smokes. These little gems right here.
So because I didn't read the Venom storyline like I was telling you guys, so when I got into it, I didn't really know who Null was. So I loved immediately how Donny Cates had this like, hey dummy, if you were paying attention, this is who Null is, right? And so I had that page, and like obviously I need the cover to go along with it. And then Mike actually messaged me the other day, and he's like, hey, there's a Null cover out from King in Black. Somebody has it for sale. And I'm like, give me their information right now. And so he hooked me up, and this was the comic, if anyone collected it.
Love that.
And this is the cover. And the interesting thing about this cover, which I think should be encouraging the new collectors, because they see, you know, how a lot of this stuff goes for pretty ridiculous prices. This was a commission that I think someone paid Felix like $500 for. And they decided to turn it into Stegman's cover for Venom for the King in Black tie-in. And this I mean, if you're in this hobby, there's probably no $5 pages. But this is, and again, I'm not encouraging them to go get commissions from every artist hoping that become a cover, but there are ways, if you really kind of do your research and you take some chances, that you can get something that's really cool. So for those who feel priced out, there's a lot of stuff out there. And I think it's really exciting. I think, that run was fantastic. I think, people are going to be talking about it for years to come. And that's why I think
that's amazing.
It's a future classic, right? It's like a masterpiece in the making.
Yeah.
Just needs a little time. You're so early on it. You've got some killer pieces. I mean, that's the opportunity.
Yep.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah. And if I'm talking too much, just tell me to shut up. I have no problem. I just ramble.
Just, first time at bat.
Don't worry about that. We won't tell you to shut up. We will just turn your mic off for a little bit.
Okay.
That's okay. And no, I mean, again, it's first time on the channel, first piece of art. You're the first one up. So no, I'm glad you brought some extra pieces of art to show off too. You're sly like that, because Mike and Dinesh probably don't have any art sitting next to them that they're going to be able to hold up.
Hold on there.
And I scanned this last time you can scan them. I just held them up.
That's true. That is very true. Okay,
so disorganized.
Mike's
got. Oh no! Oh no!
Wait. I got something. We're all doing this. You ready? Just got it today.
I got the tape measure, boys.
It might be my favorite piece ever. Just got it today.
What'd you get?
All right.
Oh my goodness.
Let's see. We'll go full screen for this one.
Oh, full screen. My daughter Maya is 5 years old. She made this. It's pretty good for a 5-year-old. I thought.
Good.
Not bad.
I'm suspicious that her teacher actually did it. She claimed she did the whole thing.
It's amazing. Nice work.
Not bad. I don't have anything to show off right now. Sorry.
You surrounded this. There's so much art on the walls.
Yeah, that's true. But nothing within arm's reach, though.
I'm gonna rotate back
I
around.
think that's the new play, that we're all just gonna have one piece of art that we have to grab off the wall. It'll be like
Well, yeah.
Nice work, Andrew.
Playing your daughter's art.
I've got a Shaheen original. You guys want to see a Shaheen original?
No, don't show it. Don't show it. It's.
Oh man! All right. Well, so Mike, you gave me this list, so you're actually the second one to go tonight, right? So we've got a Venom piece here, but wait a minute, Andrew. Now that we've got you in it's like you're in the garden now. Why a pencil piece separate from the ink piece? Because I saw that when you showed that first the interior, that was also pencils on a separate board.
So I just think that's the way Stegman did it for the
process. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I generally don't. I'm really mixed on collecting like pencils and ink separately. There's an element of like I'd rather just have one thing, right, and not have two things that I have to hold on to. But there's also an element of like, it's really interesting to see the process, right, and to see all the pencil work and then look and see how the inker interpreted what was there. So I think it's fun sometimes when an artist, when the art team decides to split things up like that. I know a lot of collectors don't like it, but for certain things, I like being able to have it. A lot of like Capullo's run on Court of Owls, it's the same thing. Obviously, tons of artists, but I generally don't look for it. But if it's a happy accident, as if I have a couple things where I can look at it like that.
Andrew, what's your calf? A lot of people in the chat asking what your calf is.
It's Dinesh. It's Andrew G, I believe.
Andrew G, that is correct. Started your calf gallery in May 2022. Here, I can even throw a link in the chat for everybody.
Nice. You are on the ball today, Bill.
Yeah, I'm trying. I try to multitask here. So, all right. So, Mike, over to you. Let's see.
I thought I would keep on the Stegman train and show off some pretty cool stuff I got from our very own Chris Bailey this past year. So this was a piece that Bailey, I think, got it at the drop, if I'm not mistaken. He was gracious enough to sell this to me. So this is actually the first appearance of Dylan Brock in terms of like full issue appearance. And here he is, sort of in all his glory. I love that first panel where you're seeing sort of through the mouth of the Venom monster or dog. Just cool perspective there. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I heard that Ryan had sort of modeled Dylan after his own son. So kind of cool here to see, Dylan, Eddie's son. So Dylan, for those of you who don't know, kind of the current storyline here, Dylan is the son of Eddie and then a piece of the Venom symbiote who attached to him in utero. So he's kind of this weird hybrid person who has aspects of all these folks, and he's the new Venom. So currently, I think there's like 31 issues out from Al Ewing's run right now on that. But he's our current Venom in the Marvel universe. Pretty cool.
Yeah. The storytelling here is phenomenal. You don't have any words. You can tell exactly what's happening, who's in trouble, who's seeing it, what's happening. It's awesome, and it feels very innovative, even though it's a pretty standard layout. A wide angle panel on top, 5 panels underneath, but it doesn't feel that way at all. Ryan is super talented.
I feel like he's really, like, in the last, call it 5 years, has really come into his own. I mean, he's really one of the premier artists right now of this generation.
Yeah, super inventive, great acting. I love the manga influences. It's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Mr. Bailey. I see you in chat. Very, very big thank you to you.
Yeah, that first panel's awesome. Love it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, Dinesh, it's your turn now. So let's see what you brought. Something pretty cool from Mr. Quesada.
Yes.
It's unreal.
Love, like a lot of people, love the 90s. Love Sword of Azrael. This is the cover to Sword of Azrael #3. Joe Quesada, huge Quesada fan. Obviously, as a Valiant fan, Quesada and Valiant go hand in hand. And also, Mike and I and Andrew are all in a Telegram chat with about 20, 30 other big collectors, and it's cool when you can be collector bros. And my buddy Carl Choi here, our buddy, Carl, we're Azrael brothers. He's got the cover to one of the 4 issues, and I've got this cover. We bought them both at OAX from Bashara, and couldn't be happier. I remember this cover so much from when I was a kid, and it just kept staring at me on Bashara's booth. And what was really interesting about OAX was being able to see that much art in one place, one day, which I've never had the opportunity to do. It really makes you understand what it is that you love. I've seen this at Bashara's booth a couple of times at shows, but there's only a few dealers there, and I was like, do I really like it as much as the price wants me to like it? When I see 50 dealers at OAX, and there's thousands of new pieces, this is the thing that I want the most. It's a gift. So just got it in yesterday, scanned it this morning for you. Super excited about it.
So cool.
And you get Nolan inks on this one as well, right?
Yeah. I wonder what Palmiotti would look like on this. The line is not as fine from Nolan, but it kind of works better that way for this story.
That's so cool.
Yeah. I'm with you on that, and it's awesome that now I know why Bashara came up to me at the end of the show and thanked me. I know how things are going on the floor there, but Bashara said he had a great show, as good as he would have had at San Diego. So this is awesome, and that's one of the things about Bashara as a seller. He always brings new stuff, right? I mean, because he has a lot, and he never brings it all to a show. It's never all on his website. So that's one of the cool things. I mean, wherever he goes, Bashara does go to do a lot of shows. For those of you who've never bought from him, that's one of the best things about hitting up his booth is just he's going to have at least 400 or 500 pieces you've probably not seen before, and they're definitely not on his website. So
the second best thing about it, Bill, is that sometimes he hasn't updated his pricing in a few years. So sometimes you may find a little bit of a sleeper deal in there. He's usually
he'll honor it. If Bashara says something, he keeps it word. And
it's great.
Something he believes it. Like if you say, I don't know, I could get you into the Marvel exhibit in Basel, he'd believe it. He wouldn't question it like other dealers.
Yeah. Oh, I picked up something from Bashara a couple of years ago that I felt was very underpriced. I mean, it was Warner Roth X-Men page, but still, I mean, under $2,000, that's kind of unheard of, right? And it was a really nice page. It should have been at least like $3,500 or something, but it was like $1,600. I mean, I had to buy it because it was ridiculous. So Anyway, so
Dinesh, I don't think I ever told you, but Sword of Azrael, like they did a trade paperback. I think this was like 1992-ish. And he did a gold foil trade paperback for San Diego Comic-Con. It was a Comic-Con exclusive in San Diego. And it was my first Comic-Con I ever went to. And I remember just being like, oh my gosh, Exo Man of War Zero and Sword of Azrael trade paperback gold. I want those two things. And so for you to have that cover is like, I've
never seen that trade paperback. I'm going to Google it. I'm going to
Yeah,
eBay it right now.
Yeah. Sword of Azrael trade paperback, San Diego Comic-Con. I think it's like 92.
That's amazing. I need this.
So cool.
All right, Andrew, we're going back to you.
Oh, this looks amazing. I'm sorry.
Now that you're in your new setting here, we'll see. We're going to look at where are we at here? There it is. So we've got some Daredevil artwork here from issue 5, and this is John Romita Jr.
So John Romita Jr. is one of those artists that has been pretty hit or miss for me. I wasn't a huge fan of his DC run, and I missed a lot of his stuff that he did at Marvel. But looking back on it, there's a lot of art that he did that I thought was pretty neat. And the more I kind of went through kind of scans of his pencils, I realized that, you know, it really depended on who was inking them. And, you know, he used the side of his pencil a lot, and you can, some inkers just, I don't think did him justice on a lot of his art. And I kind of I've kind of rethought my everything about him, and now I've become kind of a fan of certain books of his, and especially this one. And I think even he would say that this was kind of his peak. And I'm not a big Frank Miller guy. I know that's blasphemy, but this obviously was a very, you know, impactful story. And when I was thinking about what I wanted from it, the reality is there were only a couple of pages that I wanted, and I wanted Daredevil in this outfit. And I guess this kind of ties into what, you know, how I collect and how that might be different than other people. But I watched the Netflix show, and when I talk to a lot of younger people about Daredevil, when they close their eyes and picture Daredevil, he looks like this. He doesn't wear the red costume. Like, this is how they learned about Daredevil. You know, that or Ben Affleck, right? And so I wanted to find the page that inspired that, and this book was obviously a big influence on that show. And so I was looking for one of the handful of pages where he's in this outfit, and I really loved this page. I thought the storytelling was just fantastic. Now, I've heard from some people that, you know, Frank Miller kind of drew out, you know, how he wanted the pages laid out, but I've also heard that John Romita had a lot of freedom in how he, you know, composed this. So I'm going to lean towards this is John Romita Jr.'s kind of work here, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But like, I think this is the 4th page of the book, and you know, the 2 pages before this, it's like a lot of panels. It's kind of monochrome because they're fighting underwater, and then it comes to this page, and there's a lot of ways you could have done this page, right? There's this big explosion about to happen in the water, and he needs to jump out of the water and run. And a lot of our artists would have focused on that big explosion, right, and him running away from it. But instead, he kind of packs it into these panels just to keep the pace going, right? And then it's the big payoff is him just leaping almost like off the page at you into the splash page that comes after this, where he's jumping into another, you know, group of people to fight. And I love the energy, and I love the way it would flow. And the other thing I really love about like John's work on this is like a lot of artists, especially when they're drawing like in this case the dock or the buildings, they use rulers to kind of draw the lines. He freehands all of this, and it's this really cool, gives this really cool character to, you know, the environments with the way he does it. And I was I reread this storyline, and I was a big fan, and I thought this was a really cool page. So when I got the opportunity, and it checked all the boxes for me.
This is great, dude. Romita is he's a genius. You were absolutely right about the storytelling. He's rightly focusing on the emotionality of the character and not the big pyrotechnics. It's why the biggest writers love to work with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Very nice. And I agree with you that with Romita Jr., his inkers, really make his stuff better. Depending on whom he's working with. But his run on Daredevil and was always pretty memorable for me. I like his work with Jurgens and on Thor. I just was never really a fan of the style there, but this is fantastic. I mean, and I love this layout, even with these 5 panels that are the same size for the storytelling, and then throwing him in the splash like that. I think it's really awesome.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bill. I was up in Emerald City with Dinesh, and I think Micah was up there, and we were having a conversation, and I shared, I've never been a big fan of Romita Jr. because of that, and I never really got it. But I see this page, and I'm like, okay, I get that. That makes sense to me, and this is rad. I really, really dig this. Love how he's breaking the panel on the far right. Just gorgeous. This is really cool.
I agree. Now, I mentioned Power Pack earlier, and
Matt Kennedy, don't you worry, buddy. I got you.
It was for a reason. But look at this, from Power Pack issue number 1.
Numero uno.
Crazy.
Yeah. See, I mean, you guys know at this point, I go after that first appearance. I love that. I looked for a Power Pack 1 page for like years, since I started collecting, like 4 years, and just had never seen one come up for sale. Power Pack was that book that you saw like at like a church lobby or like a dentist's office, or they were used for all sorts of, like, I don't know, like scare kids straight and like teach kids like after school lesson type stuff. And so I grew up in the 80s and loved that stuff. I thought that was so cool. I could totally see Nancy Reagan in here just like popping her head in and be like, just say no. But I love that. So this page came up. Actually, a different page came up, one that Michael Browning grabbed not that long ago, same night. And someone from our group had mentioned it. Hey, there's a Power Pack 1 page online on eBay. And so I like raced over there, and it had sold by the time any of us got over to see it. And Michael grabbed it, just beat everyone to it. But then I emailed the seller and I said, hey, do you have anything else like this? I'm really looking for one of these early pages, and specifically issue 1. And they actually had 2 more pages that they hadn't listed yet that they were just getting to. They were doing one of those marathon listings of like, I'm going to list 50 pages of art tonight on eBay. And so sure enough, they had 2 more pages in line. And so I got page number 2 and page number 3 sequential. And this is the first page that you ever see them, because page 1 is sort of like a space shot. This is it.
This is the first appearance, right? This is the first appearance of Walt Simonson's Birkenstocks.
Yeah. That's so funny, right? So I guess back in the 80s, Shooter had asked, he basically wanted all of the editors to be writers as well. And so Louise had to be a writer, and she didn't want to write another character. So she created this idea of the Power Pack and pitched it. And then she got June to pencil it for her. And she specifically wanted sort of that female aesthetic and someone who could draw kids' faces. And but you see Walt right there. I mean, there's no doubt that that's Walt in the bottom right. It's amazing. I love it.
Very, very true. I've got, like I mentioned in the chat, I've probably owned like 5 or 6 Power Pack pages. A couple from the first run, and a few from different ones. But I've always been a fan. So
yeah,
I wasn't using that as a joke. I mean, these are part of our. For me, these are very nostalgic pieces. I mean,
well, and Bill, what's crazy is Kevin Feige at one point said Power Pack was actually in the original MCU lineup. He was like going to do a Power Pack movie, which is, obviously it never happened, but that this resonates with a lot of different people. So it's cool.
Definitely. Now, the next piece, is something very different, and I don't, and quite surprising, I think. And this is coming from Dinesh. You're thinking you're going to get a classic first appearance '60s Marvel cover or something along those lines, but no, not at all. We are getting Simpson and a Butterfinger commercial.
Yeah, this is thanks to our unfortunately no longer with us buddy Mikey Halpern, who loved animation cells and VHS and everything, just everything, and was an encyclopedic, had encyclopedic knowledge of all this stuff. He and I went in on I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan, and he had a crazy Dragon Ball collection, and he had a giant piece of Dragon Ball animation art. Didn't look like a traditional animation cell. It was 3 times taller. It was the first appearance of Frieza in Dragon Ball, a big reveal of his final form. We went in on that together, and I was telling him how much I loved The Simpsons, and he said he had tons of it, and he sold me this, and it is from the Butterfinger. I didn't grow up in America, so I didn't know this. I guess you guys out here had a Butterfinger commercial with The Simpsons. It was animated, and it was the first Prince of Millhouse. Millhouse was created for that commercial, and the creators just liked him enough. They put him in the show. So here it is. First Millhouse in an animation cell. Thank you, Mikey.
Unbelievable.
That is so cool.
I did not know that about Millhouse.
I didn't either. I didn't know that's where he first appeared. But this commercial was like ingrained, just like the Power Pack. This was ingrained in my early youth. I love this.
This commercial's burned into my brain. It's
totally.
Really? You know what? I haven't even gone to YouTube to look this commercial up. I've literally never seen this. But I hear the line, right? It's something like, "Don't touch my butter." What's the line? Get your fingers off my Butterfinger.
Nobody better put a finger on my Butterfinger.
Butterfinger,
Yeah. See, I don't know why I know that, even though I've never seen the commercial. Didn't grow up here. But it's got Bart. It's got a Butterfinger. It's got Millhouse. It's an animation cell. It's that early Simpsons, just after the Tracy Ullman show look.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's so cool. I didn't know. I honestly didn't know you had this until you sent over the slide pick. So
yeah,
cool.
Mikey actually sent it to me as a gift after we went in on that Frieza together, and I was like, I can't, dude. I cannot accept. It's very cool, and I'm very jealous, and I got to send it back to you. I cannot accept. And we settled on. He was like, okay, well, just buy it from me because I want it in your collection. And I said, okay, well, what is the market? And he told me, and I was like, there's no way it's that cheap. Come on. And I asked a couple people, and they're like, yeah, it's. I think it was 2,000 if I remember right. They were like, yeah, that's what these things go for. So, eternally grateful to Mikey. I've since bought.
So far ahead. I mean, just so far ahead of everything. It's crazy to look back and the cells that he was trying to turn us on to years ago. I mean, they're exploding.
Yeah. He was one of the best.
Yep.
Well, I'm trying to find the commercial.
Oh yeah. Let's see a little bit of it.
I know, Dinesh, you need to see this thing.
Yep, I've almost got it. But is this the only animation cell that you own, Dinesh?
No, I own quite a few now, but this and the Freezer were the first 2 big ones. Let me see if I can pull the Freezer while you're looking for that so we can see it. But I've got a bunch now that I really like. But what I love about these is that it's this one is it's got the background, so it's what they call a master, and then it's got multiple layers. So the Butterfinger, Bart's head, Bart's arm, Millhouse, they're all different layers.
So let's see here.
Hey, Bart, want to trade lunches? No way, dude. I got each of the 4 food groups. Sandwich group, cow group, jungle group, Butterfinger group.
Hey, there's no Butterfinger group.
Oh, contraire, mon frere. The Butterfinger group provides the crunchy peanut butter and chocolatey taste essential for survival.
I don't have the Butterfinger group.
Looks like you could die of malnutrition, dude.
Peanut buttery Butterfinger.
It's neato.
And it's neato.
It's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, that does bring back memories.
So good.
So was that cell from that commercial? I was so into it. I wasn't looking for the moment.
Yeah, I think it was that commercial.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and yeah, you just search on first Millhouse Butterfinger commercial and you'll find it. So apparently there were many. I think there was somebody had like 5 or 6 different ones posted on their YouTube channel. So yeah, so there's more, but who knows? Probably no other first appearances like that.
Yeah. When they get that tagline as they go on, because that was it's neato, right? But then it's gonna morph.
get your fingers off my Butterfinger. I'll find the tweet.
Nobody lay a better. What is it? Nobody better lay a finger on my Butterfinger.
That is correct.
On my Butterfinger.
Now, Dinesh, have you had a Butterfinger?
I've had a Butterfinger. They're not my favorite. They're not bad. They're fine. They're fine. I don't love American chocolate as much.
They're not Basel chocolate.
They're not Switzerland chocolate. Oh my God, Bill, chocolate in Switzerland is insane.
Well,
insane.
I'll never know. Unfortunately,
Make Berkey go.
Yeah, I should. They should just let me go in Berkey's place. I'll just be, his whatever, and I'll do all the traveling because he's obviously never going to take advantage of free flights and free hotels. To hell. Anyway, well, congrats, Dinesh. That's pretty cool, and obviously, the world's a lot smaller without Mikey in it. I talked to him like once or twice, but I know that from everybody who knew him, everyone loved him, and he's definitely missed in OA collecting and comics and you name it. He was passionate about it, all collectibles and pop culture. So yeah,
he was the best. Yeah,
Bill. We mentioned Silver Surfer 1 early on. Mikey shared that in his room, that was in his bedroom. Silver Surfer 1, like hung in his room growing up. I mean, can you imagine being a kid and being like
over his bed?
That's my wallpaper.
He told us that on a Zoom. A bunch of us were doing a Zoom, and he told us that, and you could hear Jim being like, "Who are you telling that to? What are you doing?" In the background, it was great. It was very Homer and Bart, actually.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great that total good analogy. He was totally Bart.
That's awesome. Man, I did not have anything close to that hanging over. I think I had Kmart art, hanging on the walls of my bedroom.
Yeah.
Landscape painting that my mom bought. I have no idea. It certainly wasn't that. Man. All right. Well, let's see. Andrew, we're going over to you now. And again, you don't aim small. You everything's big. This is a beautiful piece, all in color. Alex Ross, Secret Wars #4 cover, and we have a pencil piece for this too. But talk to me about this one.
So I think when we look back, Jonathan Hickman is going to be considered one of the top writers Marvel's ever had. Secret Wars, I think, was his best story, but he all of his stories are great. And this, I was a huge fan. Obviously, it's going to be in the MCU. That's not a big driver, but when I wanted to collect art from this story, and I'm going to butcher his name. I think Anthony says it's Asad but his art is great in these books, but his process doesn't really lend to art collecting. He kind of has a lot of loose pencils where a lot of the detail and all the stuff is done in the coloring later, and he recycles panels a lot. So trying to find good images of Doom for that story is almost impossible. But for me, this was the image of God Emperor Doom. It was used for all the promotional materials. It's the one cover that is clearly him in this world that he's kind of created. And I'm not going to spoil it for people who haven't read it. I'm going to say he created it. But you have Sheriff Strange, you have Susan and Franklin and Valeria, and he looks awesome. And it's, in my opinion, the strongest image that exists of him in the entire run. And the other thing that's cool about it, tying into something Mike said, is I played the game Marvel Snap, right? And I think that game's had 22 or 24 million downloads, and this image is used as one of the variants for the Doctor Doom card, and it's the most popular one. And so I don't know what the number is, but tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people, when they picture Doom, this is what they picture, because their exposure to him was through the game. And it shouldn't seem that strange to people. I hear people all the time say oh, I think of this image of Spider-Man because this poster was on my wall, So for this, this is in a lot of different places. And I love the composition. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Alex Ross. I don't collect a lot of his stuff. but I just think killed this image. And when I got the opportunity, I had to have it. So for me, this was kind of the Grail for one of the most important crossover events of the last, when was it? At least 10 years, right? It's one of the biggest storylines Marvel's had. And I think it's just an awesome image of one of the greatest villains ever created in comics. I guess he's not really a villain, he's an anti-hero.
Colors are striking, and then you also got the prelim for it as well.
Yes, that's the prelim sketch that's underneath the paint, and then that the outfit in white was they basically just grabbed a slider and adjusted the color to white, but the actual, I have it here somewhere. So the actual painting itself.
Andrew, that is stunning. That Alex Ross. I didn't know you had that. That's stunning. Oh, wow.
So
holy smokes.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's big. And so if you see he's in his green, which I guess they wanted to make an Alice Ross variant of the same book. So the variant, he's in his green outfit, and then they color adjusted the green to white for the main cover, since God Emperor Doom wears white. And the thing that you notice is they kind of did a sloppy job.
Can you show that again?
Adjustment? Yeah. Let me just pull this top part off.
That is so massive.
And if you notice when we show the white one again in a minute, let me see.
Holy smokes!
Wow, that's they. I've seen the printed book, and the colors are nowhere near. Contrast is so much better here.
Yeah, and so if you notice, like in the metal of his armor, there's like a dull reflection of the green from his outfit.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't change that in the primary cover. So even though the robe part is white, it still has the green reflection in the metal.
How funny!
That's like a metaphorical thing behind the character. This is a beautiful cover, man.
Unbelievable.
Thanks.
Freaking Alex Ross. One of the best.
Holy smokes. Dude, I remember when you were thinking about this one, had I known it looked like that big, I would have. That's a no-brainer. That's so good. I think a lot of people are going to kick themselves for passing on that one.
I love the run. I think all those covers are great. And I was thinking about grabbing a lot more. But I just thought it was such an iconic kind of thing of Doom that I think Alex just killed it. So I'm really excited about having that. Thanks.
Amazing.
Congrats, man.
Nice job.
I've never owned anything by Alex Ross. Always wanted to get something, but just never hasn't come up yet. The right piece.
Yes, James, I am a very small man. But I have something bigger here.
Be glad.
Which will make you look tiny.
Doing bigger coming up?
Yeah.
Oh boy. All right. Well, back over to you, Mike.
We might invite Andrew back to these things.
So we got a Blue Marvel #1 cover here by Mr. Broom.
I love this. This also came from Chris Bailey, and Bailey, man, I just can't thank you enough for indulging me. Blue Marvel is just this really, really, really cool superhero. If you haven't read this miniseries, I think it's like 5 issues. Back in 2005, 8, I think 2008. Just really cool. Blue Marvel is just like one of the most powerful superheroes, and then it's just like in the 60s, and then his mask gets ripped, revealing that he's a black man, and all of a sudden, like John F. Kennedy asked him to step down as a hero, and so for decades he's like this missing superhero and comes back. It's just so cool, so well done, and this cover is rad. There's actually Bailey had an overlay for it too that I have with it. I just wanted to show the pure art for this YouTube video, but so cool. The line work is amazing, beautiful, clean. Kind of reminds me, actually, Dinesh, you know how when we first saw some of Nolan's stuff on Vengeance of Bane, how clean everything was? Like that's how this is, like just pristine. Really, really nicely done. Love it.
Yeah, this is great, man. Is this guy? Am I right in thinking this guy is going to be in the upcoming Thunderbolts movie, or are there rumors about him? Something like that, right?
There was some talk about him maybe in the Marvels, which he didn't show up. In Thunderbolts, I think you're going to have Sentry, so there's some cool Sentry stuff that's out there. But yeah, I mean, he's rad. I just love the character. This was on my bucket list when I first got into art collecting. I made a list of all the sort of the big new characters that I could afford, or that I thought I could afford. So Blue Marvel, this cover specifically was on that list, up there with like Captain Marvel 14 with, Kamala's first appearance issue and things like that. So this was on my list for a while, and Bailey finally decided to let it go.
So that's Blue Marvel #1, right?
Yep, correct. Yeah, it's technically it's Adam, Legend of the Blue Marvel.
He's such a badass character, and that's such a cool
Yeah.
character.
He's really cool, especially in Snap, actually.
And why did he do that? I bet he's complaining about it right now.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure he's not complaining.
He feels very complaining to me.
So
I know we've talked about lists before, Mike, but I mean, obviously that's one thing that a lot of collectors probably don't do, is kind of set goals. And so that's pretty cool that you had a list, and you've been able to check some of those boxes off, because that's how you end up getting into some purchases maybe that you really didn't mean to, and you might regret later on. But being able to have a game plan just for your overall collection is a good thing for people to have.
Yeah, we have another member of our crew, Pedro, who just started collecting, in the last 6 months or so. And that was the first thing I said was, make a list and stick to it, or else you will find a million ways to spend money in this hobby. There's so many good artists out there, so much great art. And, people always talk about, well, buy what you love. And to me, it's like a Venn diagram, like buy what you love and buy what's also going to hold value, and find that happy medium of both. Because I always don't, like we've talked about it before, but when we're spending the kind of money we don't want to be irresponsible and just kind of throw money to the wind, right? Like find the stuff. There's a good plethora of overlap in those two categories. It doesn't have to be just the things you love or just the things that you think are going to hold value. Find the happy medium of both.
Yeah,
it's so important when there's so many people in the hobby convincing you that you shouldn't worry about the money. Do it if you love it. It's about the artistry. Especially dealers do that.
Buy this character, buy this thing, this new shiny thing, and it's worth, it's going to be the next Miles or the next whatever it is. I mean, how many times have we heard that on some of this stuff?
And do it if financially it's a responsible thing to do and you love it enough.
Yeah.
But don't if it's not. Yeah, we always try to keep. What's lovely about the Telegram group that we're all in is we always try to keep each other honest about that.
Yep.
Times a day, someone will post, "Should I get this?" And there'll be different opinions. And a lot of times, it's like, you know what, you're right. Thank you, guys. I'll go make this offer. That's what I'm comfortable at. If it goes to someone else, good for them.
Yep.
Dinesh, you're up. Let's see here.
Oh, wait. Before we go to that, I did find it. I did.
Oh, dang.
This is Mike. He found this. It was in a big collection, big Dragon Ball collector, and they owned it. And they wanted a lot of money for it. Mike and I split it. So this is half Halpern family and half me. And it is a huge animation cell.
Jeez.
That's not a normal cell, right?
No. So it's the background. And usually a cell is about, like, a cell will be kind of like, let's say this. Okay, that's an animation cell.
Yeah.
And what they did is he attains his final form, and in the ending of a really major, anyone's watched Dragon Ball, and the ending of a major episode, they go down like this, and they just go show you, and they show you him. And then at the start of the very next episode, they do the same thing. They show you his feet, and it's like, oh my, because they lead the episode there. They're gonna fight, and they show you his feet, and then they pan up, and then that's where the episode kicks off. And so they built this giant thing, which is unlike any cell that I don't really know cells, but people tell me that no cells, unlike any cell that exists, and it's like some crazy sought after legendary cell in the Dragon Ball world. And
yeah, there's a name for it. Unive knows that, but it's like a specific type of cell that they do for those like super special moments. That's
And-
amazing.
And the thing with Dragon Ball Z is they will take like 5 images and use them to stretch out the entire 30-minute kind of thing. So that could have taken up like 10 minutes of that show.
It does.
So true.
And the
That's
certificate, I've never taken it out of the thing. The certificate, it sells how much it was originally sold for in Japan, in yen over here.
That's so cool.
Wow.
It's got a little stamp. There's the stamp. There's some Japanese writing. Warranty certificate. Picture. Another little stamp there. It's cool. It's cool, and I love it. And initially, Mikey and I thought we'll get it. We'll hold on to it. Eventually, we'll sell it. It'll be awesome. And now, I mean, I got to talk to Jim about what he wants to do. But now, I kind of reminds me of Mikey. I don't want to let it go.
Dude, it's funny you say that. I bought 2 Dragon Ball cells for Mikey and did the same thing. Oh, I'm going to let him go. And now it's like,
Don't want to.
no.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love that.
What's my next one, Bill?
Let's see here. It is a piece by Jim Lee.
Wow.
Another OAX pickup. Jim Lee during his Marvel run, What If 13 cover. I saw this on Heritage, I think 2 or 3 times, and I was always one of the underbidders, if not the underbidder. And Adam Perlman had it at OAX, and I thought, you know what, I'm probably going to be the underbidder again. I said, what are you asking? He told me the number. I said, let me think about it. And then literally the guy next to me was like, dude, if you don't buy this, I'm buying this right now. And the guy next to him was like, well, if you two don't buy it, I'm buying it. I was like, all right, I guess I'm buying this. And it's just, you know, who doesn't love Jim Lee? Cool lighting effect, cool composition, classic What If cover. Just, you know, not Jim Lee has so many amazing pieces. It's a lesser Jim Lee, but it's a Jim Lee. I love it.
I like it when an artist gets like the proportion of Juggernaut right. Like just I want him to be this massive human, and this is awesome.
It to me, what I really love about it is Jim Lee is so, his line, the personality of his line is so specific. If you just look at a small piece of a Jim Lee cover, especially from this era, you can tell it's Jim Lee. He's got that like there's a certain line work, that certain line thickness that he has. I don't know what it is, if it's like a pen or a motion or something that he did, and this exhibits it in spades, especially in the background. Like if you look at the left-hand background, you can see that like diagonal lines, the horizontal lines, I should say, and that just, it's so Jim Lee.
So cool.
Really cool.
Yep. No, this is a keeper.
Yeah, that's really neat.
I'm excited. I let an Alpha Flight Jim Lee cover go. I traded it, and then I always regretted it. I was like, what was I doing? So this is my replacement. And what's funny is I had the Alpha Flight cover. It was a lesser Jim Lee. I got a better Jim Lee. And I traded the Alpha Flight, and then I regretted it and got this. And I asked Adam why he sold this, and he said, well, I had this, and then I got a better Jim Lee, so I'm letting go of my lesser Jim Lee. I was like, dude, don't do it. I did that, and that's why I'm buying this. It's a mistake.
Yep.
And he's since told me, he's like, I kind of wish I hadn't let it go.
Someone asked about the inker. Is this Scott Williams?
That's a great question. I actually don't know who the inker is. I think it's Jim Lee all around. Let me look it up. What if 13? I don't think it's Scott Williams.
Yeah, because it's just got his name in that box on the left side.
I think it's just Jim.
Yeah.
It's all Jim.
I cannot find it. I'll have to look it up. No one has CGC'd this book, so when I look up What If 13 CGC, it does not come out. Maybe eBay will have it. 13. Okay, here we go.
I bet it's all Jim.
eBay does have it. And it is, yep, all Jim Lee.
Sweet.
That's cool.
Jim Lee inks on Jim Lee pencils, which is cool. That's awesome. Scott Williams is the best on Jim Lee, but second best is Jim Lee on himself.
Yeah.
Very true. Well, congrats on that one. You struck out twice, but you didn't strike out a third time.
And it's got all the trade dress and the copy.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. It's just cool.
That's cool.
Let's see here. So we're going back to Andrew, and this is something a little different.
I hate you guys. You guys are bringing this kind of stuff. Come on, man.
So, I guess this kind of opens up a larger conversation about color guides and colorists. And I feel like
Color guides are bullshit, Andrew. They're not real art. Tell me,
Just do this. Just get rid of it.
Yeah, sell it to me.
Yeah,
What do you
people. I feel a lot of people overlook this. I mean, obviously there was a time where everything was very limited with printers. You pick the code for sky, you pick the code for grass. Not a lot of thought went into everything. You got a hero. You either make them blue or red. Spider-Man, Superman, Fantastic Four, Captain America. You have a villain. You make them green or purple. Doctor Doom, Lizard. Doc Ock.
Well,
Whatever,
they couldn't
right?
replicate the colors. Literally the presses didn't have the capability, so it was simple, but they couldn't replicate anything else, so they had no choices.
Yeah, but there were some colorists that thought more of like, let's just make the sky blue, right? And obviously there were some, technical advancements that happened in the 80s. But when I look back and I think of Watchmen, like, I don't think you get a more perfect book than The Watchmen, right? And what I think has been a kind of a travesty is when people talk about it, they talk about Alan Moore, they talk about Dave Gibbons, they don't talk about Higgins. And his coloring for that book, I think, is as important as anyone else's contribution to that book or those books. And, I was watching an interview with Dave where he was talking about, bringing on Higgins. And, like, Higgins had to justify his choices a lot of times, right? And like he would have to go to that.
Choices were insane. His choices on Watchmen were absolutely insane.
And I don't want to understate how talented Dave Gibbons is. I think he's a fantastic artist. I own art, from Watchmen of his. But he has very kind of like this realistic style with clean lines, and he's good composition. But he'll even admit the emotion and tone of that book came from the colors. And I think it's remarkable that so many people in this hobby just blow over the color components of art. Like, that's insane to me. And I think Higgins is amazing in this book. And, he only painted a couple of the covers. And, I think this was new. I think Lynn Barley was the first person to do it with Dark Knight Returns. Someone can correct me. But he painted the covers. And so this is one of the only 12 things of actual art he was able that you can actually have from his contribution. And the two really powerful symbols from Watchmen, it's the smiley face pin and the Doomsday Clock. And this is the Doomsday Clock. And so I was really excited when this came up, and people just didn't pay attention to it for whatever reason. And I think it's because people think they think color guides, whatever, and I think there are some color guides that are really cool, so I don't want to blow over all those. But they also are like, oh, blue line, and they're just like, okay, this is worthless. And I'm like, no, this is super important. And I mean, I have it right here, and like, here's the overlay. Like, you can see there's not a lot to this overlay.
That's rad.
And
that's so cool.
The cover is mostly what he painted. And like, I just showed you an Alex Ross painting, which is the whole thing. And like, the highlights in this are like choices that Higgins made. Again, this is not the best example of his work from the book in terms of like the storytelling choices, etc. But it's one of the only things you can have.
I don't know that I agree with you. I actually disagree with you, Andrew. I think this is a fantastic choice. I think the fact that he's chosen to color the two hands of the clock in that cooler purple, which the whole book exhibits, right? What's so fascinating about Watchmen is that he does the opposite of what any colorist would have done, which is all the cooler colors, the blues, the purples, the greens are in the forefront, and all the warmer colors are in the background, the yellows, the reds, which is the opposite of every other comic ever. And it's the opposite of color theory. And it gives you this really unique look, but it also gives you kind of the feel of a horror story within a superhero story. So subconsciously you're reading Watchmen going, it's superheroes, but you're feeling like this is kind of like a horror, a kind of a psychological horror slasher. And that's purely the colors, and any other colors in the world would have colored those hands a metallic gray or white, like the highlights. And you can just, even looking at this, you're like, I know there's a lot of blood, but you're like, there's something creepy about this. And I think it's the hands.
Yeah, I stand corrected. I agree with you. And I like, when I think about him, and like, Bond is a fantastic artist, right? But like, when he recolored the Killing Joke, like I feel like something was lost, and I just don't think colorists had the ones that really focused on like how they could add to the story, and you know, as Dave Gibbons said, the visual poetry of what Higgins did. I feel like I don't know. I'm kind of going off, but I want to give him his due, and I feel like there are certain people that were just overlooked for so long, and I feel like if you talk about the Watchmen, you have to talk about him and his contribution. And so I was very excited to get this, and it's just as meaningful to me as if I had, you know, the pencils from Gibbons.
It's fantastic, dude. I think that's my favorite piece tonight. That's really, really, really special.
Nope, I agree wholeheartedly. I would love to have that piece. Oh man, Mike.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
This is my favorite piece of the night. That's my second favorite. Second favorite.
Wise choice, Dinesh. Family first. Let's see, Mike. What do we have here next? Todd McFarlane, right? Amazing Spider-Man 300.
Yeah, I actually. So this is one of the rare occasions where I posted on Cap before this show because I just couldn't contain myself. This was from Scott Wingo, Spidey fan, who has just such an incredible collection of Todd art. I didn't own any Todd art. I'd been after one for a while. And actually this page sold 2 years ago, and I bid on it, but did not take it home. And I think, Dinesh, I probably sent you like a dozen messages throughout the years of like, if I'd grabbed that page back in Comic Link. And so I kicked myself because for me, this is so cool. It's got, Eddie in the Venom, the symbiote with the priest robes. I thought that was really cool. He's in the church with the bell. You have a black Spidey in there. I mean, this scene is so iconic, right? Like this is the church bell scene that we've seen in movies and video games. And it's rad. I was so grateful to Scott. I just said, hey, I missed it a couple years ago. Any chance he'd be willing to part with it? And he was really cool about it. So very grateful to Scott for this.
Great book, great artist, great scene.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's just killer.
So cool. Never in a million years did I think I would be able to afford a page from this book. I mean, this was like, I didn't even put it on my list, Bill, because it was like, that is pie in the sky, right? Like I'm going to have to live vicariously through Dinesh and his cover, but there's no way I would ever, Fish has, I think, a page from this book. And there's just a lot of collectors who have really, really nice collections that black hole a lot of this stuff. But I never thought
100 bros now.
Venom. I love it. I love it.
And considering the other stuff that we showed today and thinking of like what Donny Cates did with Venom, it's kind of amazing the arc that character has had.
Yeah.
And Eddie Brock from this book, going and becoming what he has in the last couple of years. But this page is incredible. It's, there's some people in this space that like to, make live comments about first appearances and stuff, but this is history for this space.
Yeah. Well, and we talk a lot about like generational characters, right? Like there's these like moving characters that really are sort of define the generation. Like I think about Spidey and Wolverine to me was one of those characters, right? And then in the 80s, you start seeing, well, I guess Venom is technically the 90s. Then you get Deadpool and then Miles. Like that to me, those are the big moving characters that grabbed a generation. And so, I mean, to have a piece of Venom is rad.
Yeah, this is an awesome piece, man. Really is.
Very grateful to Scott. I truly out of every collector that I've dealt with over the years, I mean, he was just so gracious in this process. So,
well, he's got enough McSpidey. He can let one go every once in a while.
Very grateful it was this one because this fits me very well.
Yeah, this was the one that got away for you. I mean, it was annoying. You kept talking about it.
Oh, it just and we've all had that, right? We've all had that. Oh, I should have done that one purchase that one time, and this haunted me I would think about this sometimes at night, like, oh, I wish I had just grabbed that page. I should have sold I never sell art, and I should have just sold some stuff to get that thing,
Yeah.
So it actually got annoying, Dinesh. Is that what you're saying?
It got annoying. But you know what? I didn't realize it wasn't. He was manifesting it.
Mhm.
He was pulling it to himself.
The universe just.
And Scott was such a gentleman about it. I heard from Mike how the transaction went, and such a gentleman, so cool. It's so lovely to see. That's what I love about the Telegram group that we have is and even the pictures in Basel. Some of those pieces are from like Raj has a piece there, or Bailey's got one coming up, or all these other guys, Chuck Costas, etc. And it's just so cool. Everyone helps each other out. It's really nice, man.
Yeah, it is. It's very cool.
That's true. And I didn't point out that Chuck Costas was there at the opening with you guys too. I should have mentioned that. Yeah.
Yep.
He gets around. I mean, he had a little hand in the and getting the Marvel exhibit
with this incredible Wolverine cover.
Yep, that's right. So now this is pretty cool. I think some people at OAX would have liked to have seen this piece, the card art by Jesco, Thing versus Hulk.
I love these, man. I suspect others do too. I don't know. I mean, it was such a big card set. This is from Marvel Masterpiece, the 1992 Joe Jesco set. That for me, growing up, I grew up in Hong Kong, and we didn't have a comic store the first couple of maybe year that I was a comic fan. I just had Wizard magazine and trading cards, and it was almost a year until I found a comic store and then started buying stuff. And so this stuff is to me as important as Spider-Man 300, etc. And I just love them. This is a chase card, so it's even more exciting. I have another chase card. I've got the Wolverine versus Sabretooth card. Tom Fish foolishly sold that to me years ago. And this guy reached out, and the owner of this and said, hey, you've got that card. I've got this card. What do you think this is worth? And I told him the last offer I'd received on my Wolverine Sabretooth. And he said, oh, man, that's crazy. That's like twice what two collectors are offering me now. I said, be careful. It's a valuable thing. People like this stuff. And he came back to me a couple weeks later. He said, hey, I talked to them and they would match that offer. I think it's true. I don't know if it's true, but you were the one that helped me out. Are you interested? And I said, I would match the offer and I'd add a little bit on top. He was gracious enough to sell it to me. I'm very excited about it. The unfortunate thing is, though, if you look on the sides of it, it has this tape, and it came in a frame, and I pulled it out of the frame. Whoever framed it mounted this tape on top of it. I've been talking to not a restorer, but an art preservationist, and they think that they can get this off, because if you look carefully, especially at the bottom, you can see there's tons of art underneath. The Wolverine versus Sabretooth, what was so exciting to me is there was a tremendous amount of art beyond the border of the card. Same thing here, and I really want to protect this and get it back to its glory. And the tape worries me, but it's beautiful. Even without that, it's beautiful.
How big's the art?
It's tiny. Let me see if I can. It's right here. Right here. Hold on. Right here.
Yeah, let's switch over to you.
Okay, so this is it. You can see this is where the foil goes.
Okay.
Foil, different layer of foil over here, and then the art is. So it's like, here's my hand. They're not very big, but they're cool.
Yeah, for sure.
They're cool as shit.
Wow, that is really nice.
But then, yeah, you've got all this art underneath here, and it's just a bummer that this tape is there. And I've tried to pull a little bit off here.
Yeah, don't do that.
No,
Yeah, let a professional do it, Dinesh.
Yeah, this is tape on top of another layer of tape here.
Yeah.
So I tried to experiment. I haven't touched the painting itself. It's very thin. My understanding, and you can see the back of all these cards, my understanding is that they were all dry mounted. I don't know if you can see this. It's very, yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Right? They were all dry. Some asshole bought these from Jusco and dry mounted all of them, and then decided that he was going to split them up and sell them, and so ripped them off of the dry mount. So they're very thin. It's got this very abrasive back, and then frame them all, but frame them again with this tape. It's very frustrating.
Look, I can be your place in 20 minutes with a box cutter. We'll figure this out.
Well, I do know a good conservator that could probably help you. If
Yeah?
you end up needing it. Yeah, yeah. She's She's actually in Florida, but yeah, definitely.
Will you introduce this? Because the one I've been talking to here in LA feels they tell me they can do it, but they don't feel confident. I'd love to find someone who's dealt with this before, because I know this happens to oil paintings.
Yeah,
and I'd love to find someone who's done
this woman works with like major museums. She can she's and I've steered a few other comic art related, restoration, conservatory related types of jobs her way, and people have been pretty happy. I mean, she did some work for me too. So yeah, I'll get your contact information.
Please, thank you, because I want to rescue as many of these as I can.
Wise decision, yeah, and you want to be able to see more of the art too. That's pretty awesome. Andrew, back to you, and a favorite artist of many of us, a Bill Sienkiewicz piece from New Mutants.
Yeah, so this piece was pretty important for me. I know I was watching one of your recaps, and there were a lot of questions about this piece. Thinking, how do I put? There's a couple elements for me that came into me wanting this. First, I just really like the character Legion. Age of Apocalypse was a big storyline for me. I didn't know much about Legion at the time, but I'm like, who is this character that can go back in time and want to and be able to kill Magneto? I believe you owned at one point the Legion Quest cover that was kind of burned into my head. And the character's always stuck with me. I think it's a character that a lot of writers haven't been able to figure out what to do with him, but I think there's tremendous opportunity because he's a very unique character in that he's the most powerful mutant, and he's basically got a toolbox with any tool you could possibly need to fix something, right? But when he reaches his hand in, you don't know where he's going to end up, and he may want a screwdriver but end up with a sledgehammer. And that's what makes the character interesting. And what I also found kind of great about the character is I was a fan of the show, and I believe it may be the first X-Men character to have his own TV show, but the character created this really interesting space for the creators of that show to play in, and I think they made kind of one of the greatest kind of comic-related shows on television. Not just that, just a great show on television. It's a weird show, and it's kind of weird, like Sienkiewicz's New Mutant run, where if you're used to something, you go into it, it's not what you're expecting, and you're not really sure what to do with it. But if you sit back and kind of just absorb what they're doing, they did a lot of super creative and awesome things with that show, and it was because of the opportunities presented by this character. So putting that aside, to talk about Sienkiewicz, I think he's, in my personal opinion, one of the most important artists that we've had in the comic space. And I remember when you were doing that one of the shows running up to Heritage, and I forgot his name, who you have on, and he made a comment, and I know why he did it. Something along the lines of like he included it as one of the things to show because it reminded him of Sandman, and Sandman was really hot at the time. And to me, that was so backwards because you don't have Sandman if Sienkiewicz isn't doing this years before, right? Sienkiewicz opened the door with that New Mutants run to a lot of different things. And like for me, his Moonlight run isn't as important because it's Bill Sienkiewicz drawing Neil Adams for most of it. And at the end of it is him trying to figure out what his voice is, right? And there are a couple of cool issues, and Scott Williams owns most of the good art from that. But this New Mutants run is the run where he turns down X-Men and says, I want to basically experiment and see what I can do. And this page is like him basically being told, like, I can do whatever I want. And he introduces what becomes his most important character. And this, I haven't, I'll pull it out in a second, but this page is so cool in that, he's a character with multiple personalities, and you may not be able to tell from the image, but it's basically a mosaic of little pieces that he cut out and put together, like a jigsaw puzzle to put, him together with all of his kind of split personalities. And no one was really doing this type of stuff. And I can draw that line from him to Sam Keith, but you can draw that same line to people like, Simon Bisley or whatever. But, I showed Alex Ross, and Alex Ross, is on the other side of the spectrum, but Alex Ross is doing what he's doing because he got inspired by Dave McKean, who got inspired by Sienkiewicz. And there are a lot of ways you go back and you look at how he changed the game. And it also reminds me, and I don't want to quote Bill Maher on this because he has a segment called I don't know for a fact, but I know it's true, or something along those lines. And I don't know for a fact that a lot of artists got the courage to start experimenting and finding their styles when he was kind of breaking out of the mold. But I just know when you saw how many people started experimenting in the 80s, I feel like he was one of those guys carrying the torch for that. And it reminds me of in sports where, if an athlete, breaks a record for anything, held for years, people realize, oh, that record could be beaten. Maybe we can do something else. And then everyone beats the record. It's sort of that way with me with Sienkiewicz. And I didn't understand him when I was a kid. And when I go back and I'm like, oh, I didn't understand because I was young and stupid. He was doing amazing stuff. And this page to me is so special. And, I heard people talk about, for the price, you could have gotten a New Mutants cover or multiple covers. But maybe because I'm a newer collector, I don't necessarily think these rules of the cover needs to be the most valuable thing apply, right? When I think back of, with I forgot which Amazing Spider-Man where Gwen Stacy dies. I'd much rather have that end splash page of him holding Gwen Stacy than the cover of that, or the panel page of Mary Jane saying Tyree hit the jackpot. I'd rather have that than the cover. So I think a lot of times we associate the cover as with the story, and that's the image you think of. But for me, this image is more than I could ever get from something cover, and it's where he created this character. And a lot of people, again, I made the comment before, a lot of people make these kind of, I think, ridiculous comments about first appearance collectors. And yeah, some people will get insane where they're like, this is the first appearance of Rogue and Jeans. Yeah, that's ridiculous. But at the end of the day, there's a reason Detective Comics 27 is more valuable than 26, right? There's a reason you collect Amazing Fantasy 15 instead of 14. And it's not because you like odd numbers more than even numbers. With this hobby, you're not just collecting art because the art's fantastic. If that's the case, everyone would just be buying commissions. These are artifacts and part of the process of, creating these great stories. And for me, this is Sienkiewicz at his best, at the most important thing he was doing, and his most important character. And this is the page for me that I wanted from Sienkiewicz, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, and think in any conversation you're having about comic book artists, and if you view yourself as an art collector in this space, you need something from him. So that's my ramble about this page and what it means to me and him. But yeah, I think this thing is so cool, and I have it over here, and it's big. Is it? It's
whoa!
And just
you said it's pieces cut out and put on top of each other.
I'll bring it to the camp, but just so you understand, and I don't know if you can tell, but those
take it out of the plastic.
These pieces are cut out. Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool.
Bill is he's an absolute genius, living legend. At WonderCon, he was doing a signing, and it went on for hours and hours and hours. People were loving it. There's no one like him.
Yeah, and let me just get this out. And of course,
and he's an elder statesman now. We've lost so many with George Perez and so many others. Neil Adams passing away recently.
I don't know if you can tell because there's another layer of plastic I need to peel off. But all the little details.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when I look at this little house here, I see a face here, and I think that's intentional, right? There are all these little things that he does. You can tell here that component's cut out, right?
Is that smile done in whiteout? Is that what?
Yeah, it's done in whiteout, and it's just there's lots of different layers to this. This part's cut out, that part's cut out. So it's just lots of little pieces coming together, and this thing is just so cool. It's like
I need to come over and see this in person.
I know. I was like, this is what I love about shows like this. It's like you actually like you would never get that from a scan at all.
Yeah, it's. Let me see if I can take it out of this piece of plastic too. But
So cool.
it's it's one of those things where I know this was like Frank Miller's era, so like people again. You see Frank Miller experimenting a lot around the same time, but maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like Sienkiewicz doing some crazy stuff gave Frank Miller the courage to do some crazy stuff too.
Oh, absolutely.
People disagree with me, but
On interviews, they were like pushing each other, all of them, in that era.
yeah, and and again, I'm not sure. This page will never be for sale until if you see it, it's because I'm having a divorce or I'm dead. And so like I'm not trying to sell anyone.
Careful what you say.
But
Oh my God, Andrew. Oh wow, yeah, you can see where he stitched it together.
yeah, and it's like it's all these different types of materials. It's just so cool, and it's so different from everything else you saw at that time. And
Congratulations, Andrew. That thing's amazing.
thanks.
That's really cool.
No, and I love Bill's stuff from the time I saw it, and when he jumped to New Mutants, that was like the best thing for him. I'm so happy because as a X-related fan, I couldn't have asked for more. And Bill was, I mean, I think people, a lot of people got him back then. He wasn't so hard to figure out that that as far as like that he was incredibly talented. I mean, back then, I mean, his stuff was gracing like posters and all kinds of stuff, and he was experimenting with like putting computer chips and things in his paintings and just going crazy. And that's what made him cool, I mean, because there was nothing like that in comics at that time. And you can't at that moment. I mean, I wouldn't compare him to Miller either, just because I mean he was really experimenting. I mean, Miller was taking shortcuts that made his stuff unique and stand out, but Bill was taking chances. I still like his Moon Knight stuff though.
Yeah, I didn't mean to like.
I know.
Yeah.
If I could get a page, I'd love to get like something from like Bizarre Adventures, that Moon Knight story. Anything, doesn't even matter. I don't even need Moon Knight on it. But I totally agree with you. The New Mutant stuff is out of this world, and that page, one of the best.
Yeah, that was cool. That was such a cool. I'm so glad that you shared that. I had no idea that page looked like that, and just the sort of the craftsmanship that went into doing that was pretty neat.
Yeah,
and it's still all in one piece too. That's that's pretty awesome. Let's see here. What do we got next? We have something by Tony Daniel. Let's see here.
This is awesome. I love this. So, Bill, are you reading Ultimate Spider-Man right now at all?
I am not. I hate to say it. I should be, though. Is that what you're going to tell me?
It's early on. There's only, I think, 3 issues. Issue 3 just came out. This is, without a doubt, like the most popular. Well, I shouldn't say without a doubt. Transformers is out there too, but this is one of the hottest series out right now. It's set in a world where Peter Parker doesn't get bit. He grows up and becomes an adult, has kids, a family, and Uncle Ben's there. He's not dead. Aunt May did die, but you have this world where Peter Parker is just genuinely happy. Like he's got a well-adjusted life. And then he, through a series of circumstances gets sent a message that, your world is not what it's supposed to be. You were actually supposed to be a superhero. And so that's kind of how the series starts off. So right away, as soon as I read the first issue, I was like, I am hooked. Like, give me more of this. I just want a piece of this thing. So I reached out to several artists who had done, work on the first issue. Marco Cicchetto was the main artist, and he kept all of his interiors. So he's not selling those right now. He did do the cover A. I think Stegman had a cover. I reached out to Stegman, and then Tony Daniel as well had this cover, and never heard back from Stegman. But Tony posted this for sale, and I was like, dude, sold. I want it right away. Love this cover. This was like the 1 in 25 variant, but beautiful ink wash in the background there. You can see Tony really, again, one of those guys who I feel like has come into his own recently. You know, I think that he's been around for a while, but like this type of stuff is just really, really cool. And so, you know, showed it to some friends. And so there's, you know, this may be in the next Spidey exhibit that we're looking at. So happy to loan this out to more people.
It's deceptively simple. It is a fantastic composition, fantastic body language, fantastic anatomy. And from Tony Daniel, I wouldn't have known it was Tony Daniel looking at it. It's him flexing muscles I didn't know he had. And it's an incredible example of his work. Totally.
Like truly the ink wash on this I was pretty blown away when I got it in hand. So hopefully we see this on a wall and you know, get some more eyeballs on it so they can see it in person as well.
It's such a strong image in this book right now, from what I understand, is like it's the only book people want to buy because it's this like everyone wanted a hard reset on what happened to Spider-Man, and so like, this is the book, right? And to have one of the covers is so cool, especially this one. It's like one of the strongest ones.
Well, Andrew, you talked about it too. I mean, Hickman's the writer, right? He is the guy right now, and to have Hickman and Chichetto on this thing is insane. I mean, that is like just about as big as you can get right now. So pretty cool.
Yeah, when I look at this, I didn't think Tony Daniel either
at all.
But I think that like you know, like we just talked about Sienkiewicz and Miller pushing each other and whatnot. I mean, we have artists out there like, you know, Nick Klein and Daniel Warren Johnson and people who are really trying to push their black and white work into different areas, right? Where with a lot of tonal work going on there, and it's got to be influencing people like Daniel and other artists to try to make their black and white artwork appear more finished, right? I mean, as if it could be printed in black and white and it would be just fine, you know, back to like the, you know, the Marvel magazines and things. I think it's a good thing, and I think that I think it's amazing because I don't think Tony Daniel when I look at this, but I see it now, and you know, and I love the detail in here, and like you said, he's pushing himself. That background's amazing.
Well, and just look like on that, if you're looking at the image, you know, it's Peter's right shoulder muscle, or as we're looking at it on the left side, that scarring on his skin. I mean, that's just that's really cool. Some really cool stuff going on. Peter has a beard in this series, and so you kind of see some of that coming through on the mask as well. It's cool. Very, very, very grateful to have this one.
Congrats, Mike. That is a great piece. Now, Dinesh, I know I actually made 2 slides for this one because
it's my favorite one.
We wanted to look at
so good.
Wow.
And I did make this like detail so we could look at that lower right corner even more, but we'll look at that one second. So tell me a bit about this Barry Windsor Smith.
I'm so happy. I'm like done. When I got this, I was like, am I done? Am I done with original art? This was like Mike. I made a list when I first started collecting original art. I said, here's the stuff dream stuff that I would have. And then this specific piece was like the ultimate dream piece. Obviously being a big Valiant guy, this was a big Valiant moment. It's Barry Windsor Smith. It's all the characters. I just think the composition is so unique and interesting. And if Valiant had continued, I think we would have seen a million homages to this composition. And it's hard. It's a hard composition, and the positive negative space with that very, very, very deep, complicated top end of where the logo goes, and then that thin diagonal line afterwards. It's amazing. And I didn't know if it existed. I'd never seen it. And 4 or 5 years ago at New York Comic Con, just a book dealer that I'm friends with came up to me and he said, "Hey man, I met this guy and he has a little bit of art, not a lot. He went to Barry's studio back in the day." And no, he didn't even say that. Sorry, he didn't even say that. He said he went to a studio back in the day and he bought some art. He has the Unity Zero cover. Would you be interested? I said, yeah, of course. Didn't expect it to be. I was like, he's got it wrong. He's got the wrong number or the wrong book or whatever. And he comes back to me that year and he says, no, the guy's not ready to sell. Next year, same thing. Next year, same thing. And then 4th year, he goes, I said, well, what exactly is this? Do you have a picture? And then he goes, no, but it's like an artist named Barry something. And I was like, oh shit, is this really the piece? Didn't happen. Then this year, I saw him again at New York Comic Con and I was like, we got to make this happen, man. Can you get a photo? What's he need? He needed a huge number for a Valiant piece. The highest it's got to be anyone's ever paid for a piece of Valiant art. And I said, no problem. And they got me a photo and I said, oh my God, it's really the thing. I've got to get this. And the guy raised the number 10%, 20%. And I said, fine, I'll do it. And literally my buddy who's going to make a percentage on this was like, you're an idiot. Don't do this. He's trying to talk me out of it. And I said, no, this is for no other piece would I do this. I'm in. And he says, okay, the guy has got cold feet. I'm like, what can we do? He's texting him and he says, well, he needs it all cash. I'm like, that's a lot of cash, man. And he says, okay, well, he needs it all cash and he wants to meet in a car park. And that's where I was like, you know what? I'm out.
Come alone, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to be out, but now I'm out. And he says, okay. Then the guy came back. Well, what if it's a car park of a bank? And I said, okay, we could do it in a bank. I'm gonna bring some friends, but I'm at New York Comic Con. I'm leaving, Monday morning. He goes, no, it's got to be Monday afternoon. So I extend my trip. I bring a couple buddies of mine. We go to the bank. He says you can get this much money out of the bank. I don't believe that's true from my experience. Go to the bank, and long story short, the bank shuts my account because they think I'm being held up by the mafia. My two buddies they thought were mafia enforcers, and they were trying to steal money out of my account under duress. So then I have to extend my trip another day. Finally get them. I call the bank ahead of time, get the money out, give the guy he'd never turned up. We didn't want anyone to see his face. I don't know why. Strange guy. His wife turned up and she was like, he's being so stupid. Like he should be here. She gives me the art. I give her the money. We go to a Mexican restaurant across the street. The dealer who helped me put together, two of my buddies, and we're sitting there having margaritas and I start picking at Pete Stanchik in the bottom right. I'm like, this is so weird. There's a stat. Valiant had done a lot of stats and they probably shrunk him or enlarged him or whatever. And I start picking it and I see that underneath a different character and I pull it off and I see that it's Torque. And it's amazing to me because I know the Valiant fans don't know this. There's a huge Valiant community. We all obsessive about the lore, and none of us had ever known that originally the art was drawn with Torque from Harbinger, who died in issue 6, and issue 8 is when Harbinger enters Unity. So 2 months prior, they probably decided to kill Torque because Valiant was running by the seat of their pants, and they asked Barry to change the cover, and they added Stanchik to it instead of Torque, Pete Stanchik, which is just fun. It's just super, super fun. I could not be happier. It cost an arm and a leg, but it's like a grail as far as all-time grails go for me. I'm still pinching myself that I have it. So excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to share it.
Yeah, you'll never regret this one.
No, not at all. I like Rick Welch said he didn't want you to see a grown man cry. That's why.
Awesome.
So awesome. I mean, this is like the Spidey 300. There's a couple where I'm like, am I living like a weird Vanilla Sky life where I've been hit by a bus and this is all in my head? It's crazy. It's awesome. So cool.
Yeah, that's crazy. And a 5-year journey to get there, right? And semi disbelief that it's even the piece that your friend was telling you about. That's totally cool, man.
I was so dismissive of it the first few years. I forgot every year he'd mentioned to me. I'm like, oh yeah, you've got that guy. Probably doesn't have the thing. And then when I saw the picture, the tweet, I became like nothing was going to stop me. Then had to have it.
Congratulations, Dinesh. You might be living in a Vanilla Sky world. You never know. But you asked for it. That's your best. You're living your best life as a collector. That's wonderful.
I love that you said it back to me. I said that reference, and I was like, no one has seen this movie.
Oh hell, I enjoy that. It's like every 3 years I watch that movie. I actually saw it in the cinema. I was one of the few people.
Were you alone in the theater?
No, I took my father-in-law actually, and he thought that he hated it. He was like, "This is the dumbest movie ever." I'm like, "This is great."
The movie's awesome.
Yeah. All right, we got three.
Andrew and Mike are so quiet. They're like, we've never seen this piece of shit.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, you'll see. You should Vanilla Sky. Just
look at probably. Come on, Bill. I'm not that old. I've seen Vanilla Sky.
All right, we got one more round here, right? I think.
I teach people that they filmed Vanilla Sky outside of my school, like a couple
what?
Times I went to school. Yeah.
Really?
The scene where he's in the car. It was on top of a flatbed. And I remember them closing the street down driving down.
Really? That's amazing. Look at Shaheen's got the original Abres Los Ojos. That's
I was going to say, have you seen it in Spanish, Bill? Come on.
I have not.
A lot more nudity.
What's crazy is, wasn't it? It was Penelope Cruz, right? Wasn't she the same for both? She got double paid for the same role. Amazing.
Yeah, she's phenomenal. She's a great actress. Incredible actress.
Marcus. That was at a different theater, not the one I went to. But good try. Good try.
Mark,
Oh man! All right.
How do you manage to comment on every single piece on Cap? How is that?
I have no idea. He is.
When you're sitting at
we
Vanilla
thought,
Times.
we thought he had a chat bot or something, but just there's no way. It's impossible. I don't know how he does it. I think he has a full-time job on top of everything else. They must not monitor his internet use, because he certainly gets away with being on Cap all day long.
I've literally been drinking with some collectors and said, let's play a drinking game. Can the first person to find a 0 comment piece on Cap wins? And we can't, because it's always
well, they do exist in the first hour that a piece is out there, but they don't last long.
Yeah.
And you think about it. I mean, what is it? About like 8,000 pieces of art get posted to CAF every year. So you figure close to 100,000. It's a little less than that every year. And Marcus only comments on about 20,000 of them. So he doesn't get them all. He's really only at about 20%. So he is selective.
Insane.
Yeah, 20,000.
Step it up.
How does he have time to do that and be a tour guide for Mannix when he's in the U.S.?
I have absolutely no idea. No clue. All right, so Andrew, your last piece is kind of we've done this artist and title before, but we're gonna do it again.
So I wasn't sure what to pick for my 6th. So I had a feeling I would talk too long for the last piece. So like, can I pick something that most of what I have to say has already been said, so I can let them talk about what their stuff as well. And the other page I showed was from his actual first appearance at the end of the previous book. This is his first story appearance. He's on a small panel before this page, but this is the page I won from this book. And it's kind of a funny story. I didn't end up getting it. I had something in my collection. I generally don't really sell things that often, but somebody knew I had something, and they're like, what would you trade for? And they knew that I like Legion, and I was looking for one of the pages from this book, in particular this page. He's like, I have this page. I'll trade you this page. I'm like, okay, great. And then he's like, give me 6 months. I'm like, why do you need 6 months? It turns out the page was at a comic shop had the page. And so he needed to set up time payments to buy it, to trade it to them.
That's amazing.
And so I'm like, no. I'm like, I'll do it. You pay me and I'll pay them. And if you miss a payment or whatever, at least I know I'm getting the page. Because in 6 months you may change your mind or whatever. So I started doing that. And so he would pay me every month, and then I would pay them. And then you may think to yourself, why didn't you just buy the page? Why did you just keep passing payments along? And you would be a smarter person I am. I didn't realize that until 2 months in. What am I doing? But I had something to look forward to, and then it actually felt like a transaction. And I was excited to get this. I got it around the same time as the other page. I have other pages like this one, but this was the page I wanted. And I think it's such a cool page for kind of the introduction of him in the storyline, and you can see like the crazy stuff that Sienkiewicz was doing. Like they go in, and obviously he's lost control of his powers. Everything's flying around the room, and you watch it, and it looks like the stuff is actually hitting the panels, and the panels are falling off the page and breaking, almost like a painting on a wall that got hit. And so I think I have it right here, and like you can see. Like this panel looks like it's falling off. Like that panel over there, like there are these weird shapes. They're like clipping out. Like all this stuff is clipping out of the panels, and it's just this super cool thing. And Sienkiewicz, drew out what he's saying, and you can obviously tell when you see that like this character's different and some weird stuff's going on here. And like the bed frame is like this Tim Burton like bed frame. It's kind of warped looking. I just thought it was a really cool page, a really cool introduction to this character, and just Sienkiewicz doing what Sienkiewicz did best in this New Mutants run. So that's a lot shorter of a speech than the last one. I think it's a good thing I picked another thing related, so I didn't have to talk that much, so I didn't bore everybody.
You're doing
That's
great.
Awesome.
First timer, you are crushing, man.
Yeah.
Nice job.
2 years in, and you're incredibly knowledgeable and and incredibly passionate about the art. I mean, I think that's awesome, Andrew. Seriously, man.
Thanks.
Oh man, yeah, and you're killing me. I've always wanted a Sienkiewicz New Mutants page, and you've got two of the best.
And he just throws out two. It's fine. No big deal. There's two.
I like that we introduced it as well. Like I didn't know what to pick. I only picked this so I didn't have to talk as much. Like that's the reason, not because it's amazing.
Oh man. Let's see now, Mike. One more for you, and this is actually the last two pieces are very interesting. First, we're gonna do this Battle Chasers piece.
Nice.
Oh man.
Heck yeah. Interesting for
so
sure,
cool.
Bill. I love this book. Bill, do you know about Battle Chasers?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I did pick it up and read it, and yeah, I mean it's cool. I mean, who didn't want to see what Joe Mad would do on something that he was really that was up his that he really wanted to work on. So yeah, this is great, man.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, and obviously Joe Mad went into into the gaming industry. Battle Chasers became a game. And, this is the first time you see Gully and Calibretto. I mean, I loved this page. There were two that came up on Comic Link, and I was like, man, I really want this one. This was going to be the more expensive. You could kind of tell in the bidding. And I was just like, I'm just going to do it. It's just so cool. It's like watching like anime from the 90s, it's cool. So I love it. Joe Mad's just like so frenetic in the way he draws. Like there's so much action going on. So, I have a couple pieces from him, but this was just kind of pinnacle for me.
Joe Mad's the best, man. I mean,
So cool.
There's before Joe Mad and after Joe Mad in comics. He brought so much to comics.
Yep.
He's the biggest artist in the world. Uncanny X-Men. Then
Yeah.
he peaked at. He somehow found a new level with Battle Chasers. So cool.
Yep.
This might be
It's fun.
me, but I think this is like peak for him.
I love it.
I love it. I remember when it was like popping into comic book stores and people were getting so excited for it. This is such a cool page.
It's definitely peak because he hasn't drawn a page of art since.
Yeah.
Well, they put Battle Chasers again
So
after such a long hiatus. So it's cool to see it's it was back. So it's cool.
He's amazing.
Yeah, I like this one a lot, man. Congrats. I've never owned anything by Joe Mad, unfortunately. So at some point, it just doesn't come up that often. Anybody who's got, so yeah, I'd want to get some, an X-Men page, and people just don't let those go, not easily. And if they do, they don't go on. They're not going to be up on Heritage or Comic Link too often. I mean, they're usually trading hands between collectors. So you gotta be at the right place, right time. Make sure everybody knows you're in the market for one of those, or the opportunity just doesn't even present itself.
Or you just go to Dinesh's closet.
I was actually looking at that Battle Chase page. I'm like, oh man, Joe Mad's great. And I went to my calf and I was just oogling my. Embarrassing.
So funny.
That was great. I should look at this in person more often. I'm an asshole.
I actually have a Joe Mad cover for, I think it was Inhuman, and just it's the same thing, but it's smaller. Like he works much smaller on that series. But Quan had some leftover pages. Yeah, I think there's still some pages on Quan's side, if I'm not mistaken.
He's underappreciated. I mean, because he hasn't done much work in a long time. Underappreciated. There'll be a moment, some piece will go on Heritage and it'll blow up, and then suddenly everyone will be chasing him.
Yeah, Tim, I see you in chat too. Yeah, I think Quan does have that stuff out there. Quan's great too. If anyone in chat hasn't dealt with Quan Chang, he's like one of the best out there. Super good dude.
Quan's the worst. It's like Felix down here.
Don't act like he's not happy, but yeah, he is a good guy. I've worked with him for many years.
Yeah,
he does. Yeah, he wants you to think he's unhappy, but he's usually probably having the best time of his life wherever he's at. It's all an act.
Well, Quan,
he'll cultivate art for shrimp cocktails.
What?
And chicken feet.
Wow.
Enough chicken feet and shrimp cocktails. He'll give you some art.
I don't know if I ever shared this, but Quan actually helped me get the Spider-Gwen cover for Edge of Spider-Verse 2. That was Quan? And through that, I made a really, really good friend who owned that page. Now we're good buds. In fact, we were just chatting on the phone today. But yeah, that was set up by Quan. He's incredible.
That's
Very grateful. Yeah.
That's very cool.
He does know where a lot of the bodies are buried. I will give him that.
He does. I love that.
And he's a very nice guy. Like, he loves to help people out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I've only gotten a couple of things from him, but I've had a lot of bad experience with dealers and reps, but everything was smooth sailing with him.
He's easy. He's so good. Can't wait to see him in San Diego this year.
Yeah.
Very cool. So Dinesh, I mean, we thought that the the Butterfinger artwork was interesting and kind of off the wall. And we're going to finish tonight with another piece that has me asking some questions.
This is not mine.
Take us home.
This is not my piece. Full disclosure, I do not own this piece. This is my wife's. It is this piece.
It is a first appearance page from Night Nurse #1.
It's the first appearance page. My wife, I've published. It's hilarious. I've published maybe 1,000 comic books. I've won Eisners. The books we published: Eisners, Harveys, Inkpots, nominated, all sorts of stuff. Thousands of awards, huge sales. She's never read any of that stuff. Nothing.
I love it.
She couldn't care less.
She's the
She
best.
one time said to me, "Oh, there's this book, Night Nurse. Can you get me a copy of Night Nurse 1?" So I got her a copy of Night Nurse 1. And a page from Night Nurse 1 went on eBay recently. And our group was all talking about it. And there's a couple guys who have Carl's wife is a nurse, Shaheen's a doctor, my wife's a nurse. And we were all very gracious, like, we'd like it, who would want it? No one really stepped up and said, me. And then Shaheen and I bid the minimum. Shaheen bid slightly above it, and he won it. And I was very happy for him. And we happened to be at an event that night, Shaheen and I and my wife, and she mentioned it. And he was like, "Oh, my God, I didn't know you were the underbidder." He felt terrible. He emailed the seller, who happened to have another page, the last page in the book. So Shaheen and I are Night Nurse, or Shaheen and my wife are Night Nurse bros. And this just came in a couple of days ago. And it's great. Night Nurse is amazing. There's a line in here. Hold on, let me find the line. Panel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Panel 6. Then it's goodbye. I just hope and pray. No, wait, that's not that one. Where is it? The panel. There's a line. Oh, yes. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Panel 4. Fourth panel. Shane's in the chat. Fourth panel says. She says. No, he says. You can, and you will. Went all through that. Remember, you're my wife or a nurse, not both. And the book ends that way. She lovely line work, lovely storytelling. Night Nurse is a cool character. It's nice. It's nice that that my wife is finally interested in comics. One day she may read one that I worked on.
Wow.
That's
Never
amazing.
make that. That you can't challenge your wife to make a choice between those two things. You have to be my wife or a nurse. You can't have both, and she can't make that choice. That's crazy.
No, I would never. She either wants this art or she doesn't. That's how it's going to go.
Poor Linda, man. Linda needs to stand up for herself.
But a cool page. My wife's excited. Shaheen's got one. So it's so much fun to be in a book with people that you know and love. It's fun.
Dude, I almost got that for Sunday. I didn't tell either of you guys. I almost bid both of you out. That's hilarious that both of you guys bid on that.
He's got another page. There's another Night Nurse 1 page that he's got. You should get in there.
That's amazing. Everyone's going to race to it.
The wonderful thing about our hobby is you can share it with the family. That's I bought art for my kids over the years. Maureen's picked up artwork. We have an Adam Hughes on the wall in the living room that she wanted, and we picked up during one of the early Comic Art Lives. So yeah, I mean, but you just can't do that with a lot of other hobbies. I mean, they don't want to read comics, they don't want a statue, but art, I mean, art's universal. Everybody can appreciate that of any age, and I think that I don't know. That's something that I've taken a lot of pleasure in. I mean, I bought art for my mother and father. I mean, just because it's like I know they'd appreciate it, and they do, and they hang it on the wall. You just can't do that with so many other collectibles out there. But art works, man.
I love too, like with OA Expo, that you're doing that. I mean, obviously Florida makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons, but I mean, I told my family about OAX. They're like, we want to go to Disney World and Harry Potter and all these things. And so like, that's actually really smart because it does engage the family in the hobby. Like I took Sonny to Basel and Dinesh was there with his wife and we hung out. Like that's cool when the hobby becomes bigger than just the individuals. We're not these creepy guys in our mom's basement, collecting our weird passions. It's like, it's become a thing.
Andrew is. Look at that wallpaper.
That's true. Yeah, Andrew is.
He's brought the outside in, is what's going on in there. Didn't you? You said this was your wife's
skin, or else it gets the hose again.
Yeah, this is funny.
Man, Mike, I meant to be the liability, not you.
I love it.
Yes.
But Bill, like, thanks again. Like, it was fun, when we talked about doing this, having another person from our group come in. We love making the hobby more accessible and smaller and just more, more community. We want more of that. And so it's how Andrew and I chatted over CAF is I think how we met, and then said, hey, I'm going to be in LA. Knew he lived in LA and we all connected and now we go out for drinks and dinner whenever I'm in town.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, obviously I know we're going to do it again sometime in the future. Just let me know when we want to do another one. But Andrew, it was really nice meeting you, man. I've been a fan of your CAF gallery for a while. And I know we've featured a piece or two on the CAF updates and things in the past. Same thing. Well, all of you. I mean, all three of you have managed to get into the CAF updates numerous times, I think. So it's a lot of fun. And I enjoy getting to hang out with you guys and see. And this time seeing different stuff. The animation cell. I haven't seen that before from you guys. I mean, that's and a Night Nurse page might be the last one we see, but you never know. Maybe Mike will have one in his collection by the next time.
Surprised.
Michael, you should have Shaheen on here. Shaheen's got some great stuff.
I can't. I'm saving up for this heritage auction. I don't know if anybody knows. There happens to be a sort of a big heritage auction coming this week. This is absolutely
on Thursday. Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah, and they're doing on that format page, right? They have I think art's on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. So a little bit different format than they've been doing. They've consolidated the art to 2 different days. So make sure you check your calendar. Man, I'm excited. Are we going to do a viewing party? You guys want to do a viewing party?
Hell yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Many people do.
I want the over-under on some of these pages. We'll take
that Marvel Spotlight 5 page is I got my eye on that. It's way too cheap right now.
Yeah, there's some good values in there for sure.
And just quick disclaimer, anyone that may be unhappy with these two guys, I don't know them. They're clowns.
Way to distance yourself.
Do not represent my opinions. I want to buy some of your artist art. Please don't hate me.
That is so neat, man. Bill and Mike are great guys. Why would you say that?
Don't talk like that, Bill.
That's all right. I don't have a problem with that, Dinesh. But yeah, guys, this is always fun, and I look forward to doing one again with you guys in the future. And good luck with the auction this upcoming weekend. There's a lot of great stuff in there. I'm actually looking at a few pieces from the Dennis Kitchen set. Just because
nice.
Historically, Dennis as a publisher did a lot of great things for the hobby, and there's a few pieces that I might bid up a little bit. I probably won't get them, but I like historically significant stuff, and I have a feeling we'll probably start seeing more specialty auctions in these heritage auctions, like Dennis's. Remember Glenn Crane had that big illustration auction like 5 years ago, and I think as collectors start thinking about that they can't take their art with them, there's going to be more and more stuff like this happening in the future. Whether it's heritage or comic link or other things. So. Yeah.
Well, Mandel, this is his second auction that he's done, right? Where I think Mandel has quite a few pieces in this one.
Mandel has a lot. Yeah.
There's a lot of eyes on this auction. It's going to be interesting.
The action one is going to set the tone and for everything. Everything.
That's
crazy.
That's Thursday, I think. That's the day earlier, if I'm not mistaken. I think the comics are up early. Dude, I'll watch it all. I love it.
What's the action one at right now? Does anyone know?
It's over 5 million.
And the rumor is it's going to get a 7.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Oh, so awesome. Crazy.
It's just a first appearance book. Who cares?
Just a first appearance, but
I love those events though. I mean, do you guys remember when we were watching like the Secret Wars 8?
Oh my
I kept,
god!
oh gosh, that page, and it was like, oh, this is gonna bottom out. Like this, they're done, and it slowed, and we're like, yeah, that was great, great hammer. And then it kept going. But those events, Heritage is doing a good job of creating those events, those experiences.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Viewing party. Let's do it. Viewing party Thursday morning.
Yep, I'm in.
all right, guys. Well, enjoy the auction, and again, I appreciate you guys doing this with me. It's always
Thank
fun
you, Bill.
to hang out with you
Yeah,
guys. So yeah, and I may make it out to San Diego. I'm not committed yet, but I think I'm going to give it a try.
Tiki
So,
party, Bill. Let us know.
Oh,
I
we
would
should
be in.
get a Bad Idea Party. Have you been to a Bad Idea Party yet, Bill?
I have not.
Oh,
They're bootastic.
I don't know. Can I hang at a
Yes.
Bad Idea
Yeah.
party? Do you think?
it's rad.
Yeah.
It is the event in San Diego. We need to get you over there.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll let you guys know because I got to decide. Now that I'm not going to Como, I think San Diego is a fair enough alternative. So
Thanks,
yeah,
Marky.
Yeah, come on. It'll be fun.
all right. Well, you guys have a great night. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up, all that stuff. Subscribe to the channel, blah, blah, blah. You know what it is. But have a wonderful night. We'll see you again soon.